Hello, everybody. My microphone is on this time. We're ready to go. Everything should be working properly for once. Welcome to another impromptu home or world building session. I don't know, I'm going to come up with a better name for this show when we eventually turn it into a regular thing. I just have to have another day freed up before I can actually stream this regularly. As some of you might notice, if you're here for our regular Brewcraft episode, unfortunately, it looks like the website that we use for our Brewcraft show, the home brewery, is suffering from some server errors, or I don't know, some sort of issue. I can't log into my account on there. Luckily, I checked and double checked. All of our home brews are safe. The links still work, but for some reason I just can't get on to the actual account to do anything. So I am in fact having me a beer, Mr. Bop Ramen. In fact, I have an interesting one for us tonight, considering it was going to be a show devoted to being a chef and creating a class called the Culinarian. I picked out a thing that combines a chef's two best friends, coffee and alcohol. So, this is called Sweet Baby Java from Dew Claw Brewing Company. It is an espresso bean infused peanut butter porter. Now, anybody who knows anything about me knows that peanut butter is one of my favorite things in the whole wide world. And porters are pretty great. And coffee is life when you're in the restaurant industry and you don't sleep much because insomnia. So yeah, I'll show you guys the label. Get a good shot of that. Yes, good. Yes, okay. Let's pop it open and give it a taste, shall we? Whoa. Wow, that is the first beer that is claimed. That's the first beer that I've ever had that has claimed to have a peanut butter flavor to it that actually has the taste of peanut butter. And you taste the coffee. There's chocolate notes from the porter. It is very good. I don't think I could drink more than one of them, but it's very good. Alright, let's get to work, shall we? So last we left off with our impromptu world building. We had built a city called Vencairn. Let me find it here. Ooh, excuse me. Yeah, kind of like a caffeinated peanut butter cup. It's definitely interesting. Like I said, I don't think I could drink more than one of them, but it's pretty good. Alright. So let's, we had created a floating city called Vencairn, and we had come up with the various... Yeah, it's kind of like drinking a Guinness, except Guinness is a lot drier, I think. Guinness is a lot drier. This is some sweetness to it. This is definitely sweeter than a Guinness. So we had created a floating city called Vencairn, One is enough for me and I'm done. Yeah. Yeah, in that sense, yeah, it's definitely like a Guinness. And we had populated it with all sorts of various guilds. And one of those guilds, in fact, is called the Magpies. I think that's where we last stopped doing anything. Excuse me. I don't know why. Every time I sit in front of my computer, I start yawning. And it's not because I'm tired. I mean, I am, like, physically tired. I worked today, but I don't know. So yeah, the Magpies. They are our bird trainers extraordinaire / thieves guild. They are known for training birds that are used for various purposes in this city and also sold to folks wherever the city makes port, so to speak. And they are also known for the distribution and acquisitioning of illegal items. Using Kenku for something? Let me double check. There is, yep. There is Kenku because one of the scions, the Reaper, the scion of the harvest, is a Kenku. Because I thought, why not make a crow raven like thing, the scion of harvesting. I thought that would be a funny goof, so that's what I did. Yeah, so we've got the Magpies. I don't think they have a demonym. Excuse me. For those who aren't aware, a demonym is a word that identifies residents or natives of a particular place. I don't think they have a demonym because they're an organization. Structure. Organization structure defines the hierarchy of titles within it. It describes the major roles and their responsibilities in the organization. So I think that's where we started getting stuck a little bit in our last stream when we did this. We were having trouble coming up with titles for the various... God damn it. Is there a trick to stop yawning? I'd really like to know it. What sort of culture are we trying to base them off of? The guild themselves, or like what's look into a bright light, be in a well-lit room. Yeah, the problem with that might be it then, because the problem is if I had this room well lit, my face would be completely washed out because it's all fluorescent lights except for this little desk lamp that I have here that is currently illuminating my face. Fuck, man. Man, that's gotta be annoying. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know why I keep yawning. The guild and the city would help too. Okay, well, let's go back to our city then. Articles. Vincairn. So we decided our city was a meritocracy, right? That's a government that's run by the most intelligent. You don't mind the yawning. I appreciate that you don't mind it, but it's bugging the heck out of me. That's for sure. I wish I wasn't yawning. Alright. So we've got... Let's fix this. There we go. We've got a meritocracy. That is a government that's run by the most intelligent people in the vicinity. We've got a demographic breakdown of mostly gnomes. So what do we know about gnome culture, or what do we think are some truths about gnome culture? And it doesn't necessarily need to be gnome culture as presented in any official D&D books. This would be creating gnome culture in general in this world. It doesn't have to follow any guidelines that you think are appropriate in, say, the Forgotten Realms. What are some truths we think are accurate about gnomes in this world? Remember, they are transplants from another plane of existence, so they might hold on to some other cultural things from their home plane, so to speak. They've only existed on this plane of existence for roughly 800 years or so. Base it on the Italians. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this city definitely sounds like a Renaissance city already. We model the city with a canal system after Venice. Excuse me. And Italian gnomes could be interesting. Yeah. I'm all for it, man. Cool. All right. Gnomes. So gnomes are the most populous group, so they probably have a huge influence over the culture. We've got some half-orcs in here that probably contribute a little bit to the culture. Man. We've got some Genasi's who are also descended from another plane of existence, so to speak. They're not, I mean, they aren't necessarily from that plane of existence, but their lineage is from another plane of existence. We have our tieflings that are, again, children of the demoness of greed. I imagine there's a considerable amount of tieflings involved in the magpies, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. There's probably a good portion of the tieflings in the city are members of the magpies. And then we have humans, and the rest of the population is various races. And we've also got a percentage of wealth distribution. Genasi and Tieflings were both called Plain Touched in previous editions. Yeah. I remember that. So we've got kind of a Renaissance culture, so to speak. I'm not an expert on history or the way that culture worked in Italy at that time. The most I got is Leonardo da Vinci and Catherine de Medici. That's about it. Or Di Medici, if you want to pronounce it that way. But tiefling magpies, maybe throw in some references to the Inferno. Are there references to magpies in the Inferno? It's been a long time since I read the Inferno. But yeah, we can, man, without sort of a script to go by, as far as, like, when we're homebrewing something, we have kind of guidelines of how we want to do it. It's kind of hard to actually decide on where you want to go and what you want to do. I might have to figure out a way to streamline this if I'm going to turn it into a regular thing. Because I don't want to just sit here and babble. Not that I can think of, though I think there is an entire level of it dedicated to greed. Well, yeah, that's likely accurate. Actually, that gives me an idea for something. I don't know how helpful it'll be for what we're talking about, but I do need to look it up. Oof, yeah, okay, now I remember that. So I don't know if any of you have watched the Renaissance mainly involved lots of science, art, philosophy, culture, literature. I know the extent of that. Well, if we go with Italian titles and such for the magpies, to show the influence there. Okay. So, like, actual Italian words, or words that are derived from Italian, maybe, Latin roots. Oh, my chair. Dons and Donnas, perhaps. Like, kind of like the mafia, so to speak. Okay. Yeah, we can do that. So we've got the Don / Donna. Then we've got, what was that thing you were going to ask if we've seen? Oh, it's a show that's on Netflix called Slasher. And the first season deals with a serial killer that kills people based on the punishments for the 7 deadly sins. And the punishment for greed is being boiled alive in oil. And in case you're curious, the rest of the deadly sins are as follows. Pride, broken on the wheel. Envy, placed in freezing water. Gluttony, force-fed rats, toads, and snakes. Lust, covered in fire and brimstone. Anger, live dismemberment. Greed, boiled in oil. And sloth, thrown into a pit of snakes. Yeah, the show is interesting. It was very good. There was a second season that was also it was a little bit more shocking for shock value's sake instead of like actually intellectual, if I'm being honest, or at least that's how I felt. but the first season was good. It was good stuff. All right. I need to stop fidgeting with that thing because it's making noises, and I need to do something else with my hands. All right. So we've got. Let's center that so that people can see. We've got a Don or a Donna, or a Don or a Donna. I guess we should actually look up a list of consigliere. Yeah, I guess we should look up a list of mob family titles. Okay, here we go. How is a mafia family structured? So we have the boss, or the Don, I suppose, who is adjacent to a consigliere, and then we have an underboss, caporegime. Caporegime? Is that how it's pronounced? I don't know. We'll find out. So at the top of the pile is the boss. The boss makes all the major decisions, and let me move this over here so I'm looking at the camera and not looking away from you guys. A boss makes all the major decisions and all the capos for short. Yeah, that works. A boss makes all the major decisions and all the mafia income ultimately came to him. His authority was required to control the mafia members and to resolve any disputes. In the late 20th century, and even today, the real boss keeps a low profile and assigns an acting boss to keep his real identity hidden from the likes of the press and the FBI. One such case was seen in the Genovese crime family, when Tony Salerno was given the role of acting boss, even though Vincent Giganti was in fact the real boss. Just below the boss is the underboss. The underboss is the second in command, although the amount of power he holds can vary. Some underbosses resolve disputes without involving the boss himself. Oh, you guys can actually see that. I didn't realize I put that on the same window. Okay. Some underbosses are groomed to replace the boss if he is old or in danger of going to jail. Consigliere or consigliere, I suppose. In between the boss and the underboss is a role of an advisor to the boss. Consigliere is, they were more commonly known, called, or as they are more commonly called, are there to make impartial decisions based upon fairness and for the good of the family. Caporegime, referred to as the captain or the capo of the crime family. How many capos there are in a given family simply depends on how big that family is. The role of the capo is to manage their own crew within the crime family. Okay, yeah, I think this will work. Though I think we should come up with a bird-centric naming convention for like a maid man. You just use advisors or concierge. Okay. You could also just call them consul or council. got... Because trying to pronounce that is a pain in the ass. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, we'll just call them council. I'm also pretty sure that council is a name for a large group of some form of bird. So I think that makes sense. Yeah, I think a murder would be a bit too much. Plus, the scion of death and murder is called the Crow, so... Yeah, that might be a bit on the nose. We could call them parliaments, though. Or something like that. Or we could just call them flocks, honestly. Alright, so... Do we think that this is broken down even smaller than the... Because we have, like, potentially the guild master, right? Guild master, and then we might have a Don or a Donna in each individual... Like, they run individual parts of the city. And then we have their counselors, their council. Then we would have their... then we would have their capo, basically. I think we can probably skip under bosses, unless it, the way that it's going to work is we have the guild master would be like the boss, and then we would have the Don or Donna are the under bosses, so to speak. Leader of Venice was the Doge. Okay. Huh. All right. So we've got... And then I think we need a bird-centric name for like a made man, like the soldiers of the organization. Guildmaster makes appearances but doesn't have any real power in the guild. Yeah, maybe. I think master can apply to. I mean, master can be genderless. I think. I don't think master has to be strictly masculine or feminine, though it does carry masculine connotations. But I mean, I don't know. What do we think? We're literally making this guild up as we speak, so I don't know. The guildmaster could be anybody. I also imagine that they've probably contracted some kind of assistance or recruited some of the druids that are that are in the city, because they, you know, animal handling and the like would be pertinent for controlling birds. There's a bird called the noisy miner that also has a name connected to it called the soldier bird. Huh. Go full Hydra with it, and there is no actual central leader. Yeah, maybe. So there are like cells of this organization called the Magpies, and maybe they don't fully realize that maybe that's a point of contention within the city. Maybe they don't fully realize that they're part of the same team, so to speak, and so often there are like turf wars that break out between the various cells of the Magpies, because they were designed not to have a central leadership. Does that make sense? And I'm pretty sure that has happened with Hydra in the comic books. Like, Hydra has fought themselves because they didn't realize they were on the same team. That's only 6.2% alcohol by volume. Sure is doing the job, though. All right. So we've got cool. So got that. So a history of the Magpies. Let's while we're talking about how they exist today, let's think of where they came from. Obviously, they were born out of necessity for some way to reach dry land quickly. Oh man, what if they have giant eagles? What if they have giant eagles, man? I literally just thought about it. We were thinking on such a small scale. What if they have big birds? They sound like the Teamsters Union a little. Yeah, kinda. Giant crows or ravens or owls. Man, I got something stuck in my tooth. It's bugging the heck out of me. Yeah, I mean any or all of the above. The literal giant eagles you can ride in D&D. Yeah. Yeah, like not just big birds, but like big enough to ride. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that they don't necessarily use the eagles themselves. I think that part of the necessary evil dynamic that they have with the rest of the city is they are the breeders and trainers of the eagles that are used by the city guard, the Vanguard. Well, yeah, of course, yeah. It could. I mean, it could be any giant bird. I'm just saying eagles for ease of reference. Although I don't think giant seagulls would be a good idea. Every time I think of seagulls, I just go back to the to Finding Nemo. All right. Born of necessity for some way to reach dry land quickly. Maybe they weren't born of necessity. Maybe they existed before as they were just bird trainers. Like the literal bird keeper trainers in Pokemon. They just were known for training birds in order to do special tasks. And they didn't become an organized crime family until they actually messengers, tamers, and trainers that eventually started smuggling. Yeah. Originally, what's the word I'm looking for? Can't think of the word I'm looking for. Not criminal. The opposite of criminal. So their primary illegal activities are extortion and smuggling. Yeah, I'm thinking that that's probably what they do. Yeah, we'll just go with tasked with. Originally tasked with training. No, I wasn't civil servant. Although I guess they could have been civil servants. Civil servants. Tasked with the training and care of birds used for hunting and messaging. Magpies grew into a criminal organization out of happenstance. Isolation from the mainland led to high demand for certain items. I always like the phrase criminal syndicate myself. Sure, criminal syndicate. Criminal syndicate. Out of happenstance. Isolation from the mainland led to high demand for certain items nearly impossible to procure by any other means. Thus the magpies entered the business of smuggling goods and extorting those they smuggled the goods for. I'm curious if others could find magpies working on the various other continents. Are they smuggling drugs, alcohol, people? Does the government have incredibly high taxes? You know what? I'm betting that it is all of the above. I'm betting that as a meritocracy, the government of Van Karen probably frowns on drugs. And because of their limited resources, they might not allow the use of their whatever grains they produce to make alcohol. So, actually, yeah, the alcohol, it might be prohibited too, just because whatever food stores they have to be devoted to being used as food for either their people or whatever livestock they're attempting to raise in the city. I don't know about people. I think that people might be might be able to freely come and go as they please. I mean, if they have a way out of the city, that is. Yeah, right? Adventurers might steer clear of here. But that also allows for an interesting option for our original discussion of tourism and this, the industry of there being a tourism industry in the city. It could be seen as be another reason the magpies do smuggling and extortion. Yeah, for sure. This could be seen as like a health retreat almost, because there isn't open sale of alcohol and getting the underprivileged out of the city. Yeah, maybe, if they have no other way out. So let's come up with a name for who their current leader is. Probably something Italian sounding. Yeah. Yeah, clear days as it flies above the clouds. The lack of alcohol and drugs would make it ideal for a rehab. What better place to smuggle in drugs and alcohol than a rehab? I can't tell you how many times I've heard of people who were in rehab. I live in like one of the rehab capitals of the world in South Florida. So I've known a lot of people that have been in rehab, and I hear stories about how how people have a tendency to gravitate toward rehabs and perhaps Italian mixed with some tiefling influence. Sure. But yeah, drug dealers have a tendency to gravitate toward rehabs because they're just waiting for people to relapse. Yeah, so maybe... I actually really like the last name that we saw in that article, Genovese. So what if our leader was a lady, and because tieflings have a tendency to take names that are like ideals that they embody. What if we called her Prudence Genovese? Prudence Genovese it is. Alright. Yeah, exactly. She probably is a mastermind rogue. Alright, so let's figure out Prudence then. We'll get into some NPC building a little bit. Edit person. Oh, excuse me. So we won't worry too much about year of birth, year of death right now. That's stuff that I'll figure out because the numbering system for years in this world is a little sketchy because we have like basically a BC and AD sort of, but instead it's like I forget I know that after the ascension of the Scions, it's PL or post-illumination. Is she the sort to use poison or more of a send in the goon sort of leader? I don't know. I'm assuming history is fuzzy on dates. Yeah, well, I mean, there's the accepted roughly 800 years of no recorded history because all the humans were at war. And then basically we have the beginning of actual recorded history about 1,000 years ago when the Scions ascended and they brought an end to the War of Man and basically introduced all these other planes of existence to Lumera. So yeah, dates are a little fuzzy. Circumstances of birth. Did any special circumstances lead to your character's birth or death? Well, birth. They have the same thing written for circumstances of birth and death. She's not dead yet. So did any special circumstances lead to your character's birth? Was it prophesized, unexpected, unwanted? I would say likely unwanted, or at least not cared for enough that she was given up to Ava to be raised by the demoness of greed. So what do we think? What race was she originally? Maybe she was a gnome who became a tiefling. That would be interesting. Because again, remember, tieflings in this world can be born of any humanoid race. Perhaps they regulate the population on Verncairn. Maybe. Yeah, there's probably maybe there's like a lottery of families that are allowed to have children so that the city doesn't become overpopulated. That's a possibility. I could see meritocracy, you know, intellectual types coming up with a system like that, where there's like a lottery of families that are allowed to have children, and any other pregnancies are terminated, so to speak. I mean, it's kind of a messy topic to discuss, but and that wasn't intended as a joke. That's like a serious thing. Like, it's difficult to discuss, but yeah, I could see that being the case. So, and I think she was probably a gnome, or was born a gnome. Born a gnome. Perhaps she's expected and desired, but had to be hidden. Yeah, I think so. So she was born a gnome. And I think she was probably born to wealthy parents. Born a gnome to wealthy parents. Parents who cared deeply for her. But in order to ensure her safety, ensure her/their safety, she was given to Ava. Uh-oh, what happened? That was weird. Okay. What's going on? I can't hit. I can't. What are you doing? Stupid website. No, I'm just kidding. I like World Am. It's good peoples. Alright. Eyes. I mean, that's not super important, I guess. Let's say she's got green eyes. Green intense eyes. Now, green ever thinking eyes. Perhaps she's quite spiteful at times. Yeah, probably. Hair. We can figure out physical descriptions later. Current location. Verncairn. And then we go here. Naming. Honorific title. Dona. It's not updating for some reason. Huh. So you guys aren't seeing what I'm seeing right now? You're not seeing me on the naming page? No, it's not. That's weird. Here, let's see here. Oh, that's why. It was like, it like opened a bunch of... Okay, here we go. So you guys should be able to see this part right here. Born a gnome to wealthy parents who cared deeply for her. Yeah, I can see it moving on stream now. Okay, let's go to naming. There we go. Yeah, I don't know what happened, but for some reason it like opened a bunch of tabs with the same page open, and I just ended up I started editing on a different page. That was weird. All right, honorific title. Donna. Given name. Prudence. Or actually, I guess Prudence would be her chosen name, or would be her given name. Family name, Genovese. Giancarla. Like it. I like it. Giancarla. Alright. Mental. Personal history. We covered some of that in the circumstances of her birth. After being taken in by Ava, she was trained, she was schooled in the arts of deception and, quote, procurement. Following her full transformation into a tiefling, she returned to Vencairn and found herself a home. Sounds like this lady is sort of similar to Wit. She is. In fact, she would technically be one of Wit's siblings, because of the fact that all tieflings are related in the sense that they were all taken by Ava and became tieflings as a result. Following her transformation into a tiefling, she returned to Vencairn and found herself a home with the magpies. And for anyone who's curious what I just did there, I basically just created a link to the Magpies page in this description that now when someone's reading this and they see, if someone ended up on this page before reading about the magpies, then they would click on the magpies link and it would take them to a description of who and what the organization the Magpies is all about. Education. I'm wondering if, because gnomes have a tendency to live a considerable amount longer than humans, I'm wondering if maybe Giancarla, before she became Prudence, I'm wondering if she was maybe an older child and not an infant, as Ava is typical. She typically takes infants, but I don't think it would be above her to take an older child. So I'm wondering if Giancarla was maybe a little older. Maybe she had already started some schooling at home. So does she start out a smuggler and work her way up, or does she have money because of her gnomish family, noble upbringing instead of criminal background? No, I think that she probably had to work her way up in the organization, because once she was taken in by Ava, her gnomish family would, and her ties to that family wouldn't have mattered anymore. Like part of the agreement when a family gives a child to Ava is that it's almost like a closed adoption. Like the birth parents don't get to see the child anymore. Parents hid and schooled her a bit before she was given to Ava. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Homeschooled. Schooled until her adoption by Ava. See, now here's where we get to come up with another thing in this world. There has to be a school for these children that Ava takes in, because she takes them in by the 1,000. I'm sure. So there has to be a school located in the world below, this world's version of the abyss, so to speak, where children are taught the art of thievery. Ava's Academy of Greed. Greed is good. So, for those of you unfamiliar or who might not have figured out the naming convention yet, Ava is named because of avarice, which is another word for greed. So that was my naming convention for these demons. Was I found words that meant the things that they represented, and then I just named them based on that. Or we do a nod to Gordon Gekko and something with a business tone. Yeah, I feel like greed is like greed is our business and business is good sort of thing is probably like greed, like that's probably their slogan. So yeah, we could definitely do like a business school type of tone, for sure. That would make that, I think that mood makes sense. The Gatherers Institute. I think we flipped that around. The Gatherers Institute. I like it. Gatherers Institute. And maybe Gatherers is in quotation marks. The Gatherers Institute. Trained in the art of deception and thievery. All right. Oh, look at that. It's 8 o'clock. All right. I'm going to take a short break and grab another drink. Probably not another Sweet Baby Java, because this thing is, while very good, it's a little rich, I think. So makes it seem that all tieflings are thieves. They don't, what they become after they leave Ava's influence, her circle of influence, is up to them. But there is a considerable amount of them that end up in careers just like what they were trained in. Alright, so I'm going to take a short break, and I'll be right back, and we will discuss Ms. Prudence Genovese some more. It would help if my microphone was back on. Hey, Click Me Fish, thanks for the follow. Oh, of course I don't have notifications set up, or the stream things. Yeah, I noticed. Hey Cylon, how you doing? The Mad Mage run will take place in the Forgotten Realms. Anyway, I grabbed a new beer because I could not drink another one of those Sweet Baby Javas. So we have from Coastal Empire Beer Company out of Savannah, Georgia, a Goes, another sour beer, which I've found I enjoy very much. This one is coconut and pineapple. We'll see how that tastes. That's pretty good. It's kind of like a sour pina colada, which I spilled all over my hand. All right. Back to world building. So let's talk more about Prudence Genovese, our alcohol abuse. I know, I should have just licked it up off the desk, but my desk is outside, well, out in the garage, and I don't know what sort of creepy crawlies walk across the desk when I'm not sitting out here. So so let's talk about Prudence Genovese, shall we? Our gnome tiefling. She was a gnome, born a gnome, and then became a tiefling by way of being raised by the demoness of greed, Ava. So, employment is pretty straightforward. She's a member of the Magpies. In fact, she's the leader of the Magpies. Leader of the Magpies. Accomplishments and achievements. That sort of stuff we can figure out as we kind of go along. I'm not really sure what sort of accomplishments and achievements would be notable for a leader of a crime syndicate. Failures and embarrassments. Then we've got mental trauma. Well, mental trauma, being separated from your birth parents, for sure. Being forcibly separated from her birth parents would probably count as a trauma. Intellectual characteristics. I think started as a smuggler, worked her way up. Does she have a favored underboss that was her enforcer early on? Did she kill her way up or manipulate and deceive her way up? I suppose that's a good question. What do we think? I don't think she would be the type to kill her way up. I think just from what we've sort of gleaned of her personality from the brief discussion we've had about her, I don't think she would kill her way up. I think she would definitely more go the manipulation, deception route. So let's say worked quote, worked her way up. To the position of Donna. By means of manipulating the members around her. Openly, she smuggled but used manipulation and deception behind the scenes. Yeah, very likely. Manipulating the members around her. Okay. Intellectual characteristics. Wow, that was so weird. The auto mod marked that message as sexual, but because it said violent, that wouldn't be sexual. I don't understand, auto mod. You very weird duck. So not a very physical character then. Very hands-off. Send in the goons for the violent things. Nothing traceable to her by authorities. She, and then it cuts off unless you forgot to finish your message. Auto mod may have broken your message, Bob. I'm sorry. I don't know why it did that. Add permitted term violent. I don't know. But yeah, without knowing what the rest of your thought was, yeah, she's a pretty hands-off character, I think. She got cut off. I think I was going to say she was very secretive. Yeah, probably pretty secretive. Probably keeps to herself. Doesn't trust many people. Okay, intellectual characteristics. She's probably hyper intellectual. Speaks many languages. And uses her intelligence to remain in the good graces of the... See, now we reach another point where we have to decide what we want to call something. What are we calling the leadership, the government leadership in the city of Van Cairn? Our group of, or our single, very intelligent individual, very educated individual? Is it a group or is it a single individual? And if so, what is the title that is given to this group or individual? Unless we want to use our... Where was it? Senate Speaker. Enclave. I like the Enclave. Or it could be a consortium. Yeah, I like the Enclave. Let's give it a proper name though, not instead of just the Enclave. What is the name of the Enclave? No, they would be because it's a meritocracy. Sorry, I forgot the word for a second. Because it's a meritocracy, they would be the most intelligent people in the city. So I mean, I guess they could technically also be merchants and nobility. What if we let's come up with another Italian sounding name. Scola Consortium. Scola Consortium or Scola Enclave. Sort of translate to student, school, Scola Enclave. Okay. To remain in the good graces of the Scola Enclave, while simultaneously. Wow, that's not how that's spelled at all. Oh, I just transposed the T in the end. So not too bad. While simultaneously... Here we go, back to yawning again. I was doing so good, too. Perhaps she's even in contention to join it. Perhaps. Operating from the shadows, simultaneously operating from the shadows. Cool. Morality and philosophy. This is an interesting question because we have a very smart individual who is probably not super emotional. She might be a little emotionally stunted after being given away by her family. Is she sort of an evil character or a darkly moral sort? I don't imagine her being evil. I don't think that she's outright evil. I think she's probably, if anything, she's lawful neutral. With a capital N for neutral. Like, she believes in a specific order to things, but she doesn't particularly lean to either good or bad side, so to speak. I don't think she sees what she does as something that's evil. While it might be illegal, I don't think that it's necessarily evil, so to speak. So yeah, I think she's probably darkly moral. So she sees her position as benefiting the city in a way. Yeah. As many mob bosses and organized crime families do. They see themselves as benefactors to their city. You know, they give back money to charity, which we already mentioned that this organization does. You know, she sees herself as performing a service for her fellow citizens. Sees herself and the magpies as performing a service for the city and the citizenry. Then we've got a place to discuss sexuality, gender identity. Her pronouns are she, her, because that's how we've been talking about her and we made her up. Taboos. Is she asexual or overly so? I think because of her emotionally stunted life, it could go either way. Honestly, she could not see. Does she use sexuality as a weapon? I think it could go either way. She could not seek intimate companionship or any sort of emotional companionship whatsoever, or she could see its benefits and use it to her advantage. And it could work. It could work both ways. She could be asexual. She could not care less about a relationship, you know, an emotional connection with another being. Why not both? She doesn't personally attach herself. Use her sexuality as a means to an end. Yeah, that's I mean, with as hyper intellectual as we're making her out to be, that's probably what she does. She doesn't personally find any benefit in a romantic relationship or a sexual relationship, but she sees it as a tool in her bag of tricks, so to speak. Yeah. Uses sex. Fairly attractive woman. She knows how to use that. Yeah, probably. Uses sex as a means to an end. Doesn't personally desire the sexual, romantic, emotional companionship of any being. Okay. Taboos. What are things that she might consider taboo? I don't think that in this organization there's necessarily a lot of killing. There might, I mean, depending on the stakes, there might be. But I don't think for these guys murder is an everyday thing. So I could see the party coming here and things going completely into left field. Yeah, for sure. Turning against the magpies, killing only when truly warranted. Okay, she's loyal to the magpies. She's loyal to a fault to the magpies, probably. Okay. Betraying the family. Killing without purpose. Alright. Known languages, I'll figure that out. She knows a lot of them, for sure. Especially if she's a mastermind rogue. Alright. Physical appearance. Murder isn't the only way to solve problems. That is the truth. Perhaps she's loyal to an extreme to give her a slight flaw. Yeah. Alright. Physical description. General physical condition. Use this as a way to quickly describe your character in less than 3 sentences. Fitness, agility, body shape, aids, abnormalities, illnesses, afflictions. If only adventuring parties knew that. Yeah, right? That murder isn't the only way to solve a problem? Yeah. Alright, so we said she's physically attractive. We don't need to get really much more in depth than that. She's a physically attractive woman who is capable of using sex as a means of getting what she needs. She is a female. I would say that she is physically fit. What with the need for agility, and does she adopt a device to give a picture of weakness to throw off her opponents like a cane? Maybe. She could also... I think there's a variant for tieflings that allows them to get disguise self. So maybe there aren't a lot of people who know what she actually looks like. Yeah. Maybe people don't really know what she looks like, though. Like, obviously, the dramatic irony of it is that we as the people who are creating her know who she is and what she looks like, but maybe people in the story who are encountering her don't necessarily know don't necessarily know what she looks like. So let's say her physical appearance and condition is a mystery to all but the family. Yeah. All right. She's turning out to be an interesting character. But I think that's where we're going to stop for tonight. Because I am actually starting to get tired now. Unfortunately, I had to start late because, again, of parental obligations. The joys of being a single dad. But I think we made some great progress. We fleshed out the magpies a little bit. We came up with Prudence. I'm looking forward to bringing this in to the story on down the line. And I have the perfect way to introduce Van Cairn and the rest of all this stuff into the lives of our intrepid adventurers. I have the perfect situation already figured out. It's just a matter of them getting to the point in the story where it makes sense. Because right now they are not in a place that it would make sense for them to encounter this flying city at all. But we'll get there. And by the time we get there, we'll have things all fleshed out. And it should be interesting. And you guys will get to share in the excitement of seeing this certain corny fellow. I cannot divulge things about the future of the campaign. I have the campaign sort of planned out up to roughly about level 10 so far. Story points anyway. There's obviously room for the chaos of actual play, because no plan survives first contact with your players. But yeah, I have a rough outline of how things should go up to about level 10. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, thank you guys for joining me and helping me flesh out this homebrew world of ours. As always, I would like to remind you guys that if you haven't already, join our Discord. In fact, we have commands now for that. Discord. Join our Discord. You can also follow us on Twitter. And subscribe to our YouTube. And I want to really thank you guys. I know that most of you guys in chat are already in our community. I want to really thank you guys for being part of our community. It's really special to me that we're building this group of people who love tabletop RPGs, love being creative, and love sharing their ideas with each other. You guys are really important to this project. I know that I really appreciate your help, and just keep getting the word out there about us. You know, share. Production value has been raised. I know. I have commands set up now. It's crazy. Yeah, I'm without getting too mushy, because alcohol can make me a little emotional. You guys are real important to me, and I'm glad you're here. And just keep hitting the pavement. Every little bit of support and sharing helps. Retweet our tweets, share our links, get your friends in here, get your dog in here, get your grandma in here. It doesn't matter. I like everybody. I'm a real nice guy for the most part. And I'm rambling. So yeah, thank you guys for joining me again. And even though we didn't do Brewcraft tonight, I'm gonna sign off with that sign off because I don't have one for world building yet. But may all your brews be crafty. And this is where I'm going to edit the stream, and then we're gonna actually raid somebody. So let's get a raid in. And now I know how to do raids, so that's important, right? Where's this thing? All right. Shout out to the single dads. That's right. Are you single dad, Cylon? Okay. Who is live right now? Anybody got eyes on a good person to raid? I'm taking a look right now. Hey, good on you, man. It's a rough life, but somebody's got to do it. Man, there's so many big people streaming. Let's find someone who's a smaller streamer. Here we go. Let's raid these guys. Damaged dice. Raid damaged dice. All one word, yes. Okay. Oh, I still have to fix that. It should say roll call RP raid. Okay. Did I forget how to do a raid? Do it in chat in the channel. Oh, that's right. /raid. Duh. There we go. Bye, everybody.
and that's where food and stuff was, right?
Or you can find some.
The strawberries that Hawk found were in